banned, and we already see our first picks rattling in.
Yeah, so Renegades, they're one of the only teams that do ban Cogmore. We saw Manalite pick it, and Pariah pick it, and it didn't particularly work out for them. But Renegades, they've been banning it every single game that we've seen them play so far, which is just one. But they do ban that Cogmore, and they do have a lot of respect for the changes that he saw in the last patch. This is the first time we've seen Elise first picked here. This is something that you were talking about yesterday. Yeah. You thought it was odd that people hadn't picked Elise earlier in the draft, really.
Well, I think my personal opinion on Elise is if you want a powerful early game jungler, she's simply the best.
Yes, she definitely fulfills a role that kind of bridges the gap between Nidalee and a heavy CC jungler.
She's kind of halfway between Nidalee and Rek'Sai, right?
Yes, exactly.
She's got the damage, but she's also got that reliable CC.
She's a very interesting champion. She has a huge amount of damage, like you said. It's kind of all in, like Nidalee. You have to get up close and personal to make it work. But she does provide that CC, so it isn't a jungler that sort of relies on mispositioning in the lane or having heavy CC in your lane. She comes to the table and she kind of brings that from the jungle. Whereas Impaler, we know he's a very good Nidalee player. He played a very good Nidalee game yesterday, albeit a little bit over-aggressive, but still...
But that's kind of the story of Banditos in general. Kind of like, we've seen they can all be incredibly good players. We've seen that as a team, their coordination, their synergy is definitely there. They just kind of seem to get a little bit carried away and maybe try and bite off more than they can chew. Yeah,
we talked about it potentially being overconfident. They know, at least on paper, they're the strongest team by a fair margin here. And maybe they play like that as well. I mean, again, diving towers when you don't need to dive towers, going a little bit far behind enemy lines, that kind of thing is something we're used to seeing from Banditos. And I do think eventually they will tone that down because they will need to, going up against more and more stiff competition, they're going to definitely have to play with a little bit more tact, I would say.
Yeah.
However, picks and bans coming through quick here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very curious about this bot lane that's been locked in. We've got Lucian Braum, which... both very, very powerful champions in the current meta. We had a long discussion about Braum yesterday, and Lucian, that combination as well with the Light Slinger passive, you can proc his stun very, very quickly. But they're going to be up against Kalista and Thresh, relatively soulless lane coming out from the Banditos. Now, Kalista...
Well, actually, opposite, because Thresh owns a lot of souls.
They don't have their own souls.
That's true.
The thing. So, but Kalista is a very, very powerful early game AD carry as well as Lucian.
Yeah, and actually... it's kind of an interesting one here because this looks a very similar composition that we kind of saw from the Renegades Banditos yesterday. There is no front line, really. Thresh doesn't really count that much of as a front line. He's a support. Very difficult to get the gold income to become that beefy front line. Kind of relies on winning your lane. It's kind of a team comp that, again, is running around that sort of threat of individual skill.
It's almost exactly the same composition as we saw out of Pariah. I think it's just the AD carry, I want to say, that's different from the Pariah lineup yesterday. However, we've kind of seen both sides of that now. We've seen it when Banditos have run it and it's got ahead and you can just destroy games.
And you've seen it when it's got destroyed because it got behind. Again, it's a risky composition that relies very much on your lane sort of ability to lane well, outbeat your laner, get small skirmishes in the early game and snowball from that. You're going to have a Fiora, and we talk about this time and time again, when you pick a Fiora, especially when you give Captain Alfari a Fiora, which is undoubtedly one of his best champions, he will just be looking to be 1v1 in the lane, absolutely dominant, and then potentially just split for the rest of the game. Because when you pick a Fiora, that's generally what you tend to do. And again, this is a team fight, this is a competition that's not going to team fight unless they are ahead. And we are used to seeing Renegades Banditos get ahead, so it's likely that's the kind of the way they're going to go. But they're going up against a very tactic-heavy team here. Null is coached by Billy. Their macro player is very intelligent. Maybe they can exploit some of the mistakes that we've talked about from Renegades Banditos because they aren't perfect. They're not a perfect team.
No, and that's the key thing is going to be whether or not Null can exploit those mistakes. I want to have another look at this top lane matchup because we saw Fiora versus Malphite yesterday. That was the Pariah game, and the Fiora ended up actually falling behind in CS. Now, I do feel like Fiora has an advantage in that matchup personally, but this is Prince Philip's Malphite here. He has been playing a lot of this champion for a lot of years.
It's probably one of his best, if not his best champion right now. He used to be known for Singed, but Malphite...
Just AP tops in general.
Malphite is generally the kind of top laner. He likes to play Malphite quite aggressive. Now, it's an interesting matchup because Fiora is one of those champions that, just like a Fencer, it's, the kind of... character she represents as a Fencer, it's very skill dependent. You have to be very quick with your fingers. You have to be incredibly mechanically gifted to make Fiora work. Alfari, we know, is very mechanically gifted. I understand King Shaul is a great player, Pariah's top laner, but you're comparing him to Alfari. Alfari is leaps and bounds ahead of most top laners in Europe, let alone, a lot of the people in the UK sort of top lane pool.
Well, he recently hit #1 slot in Challenge.
He did, yes. I mean, that would make him, by all accounts, in solo queue, the best player in Europe.
The best European player.
Yes. So Captain Alfari, and it's on a champion that we've seen him time and time again perform on to an incredible level. So this matchup is difficult for Malphite. Once you get that Sunfire Cape and Fiora doesn't have some item spikes, you can actually duel with her, because Fiora basically is a champion that relishes long engages where she can pinpoint those areas on the vitals that she can hit, and it's kind of an elongated fight unless she has her ultimate, which she can get the burst off. When you have that Sunfire Cape on Malphite, sometimes you can do the damage back because you actually have a significant amount of base damage. You have your Sunfire Cape that's burning away, and sometimes you can outtrade Fiora. I really, really don't expect Captain Alfari to fall into that trap, though. We saw King Shaul do it. He was struggling to match the Malphite with the Sunfire Cape. I don't think Captain Alfari will play that game.
I think Captain Alfari has played this specific matchup a lot of times and will know the intricacies that many other players might not know.
So we talked about the Renegades Banditos comp, very similar to that we saw yesterday. Kind of all in, relishes on small skirmishes. You're never going to group. You're always going to look for picks. You may even have Kadril go to split push and then have a 1-3-1 type thing going on. Looking at the null composition, as we're just about to load through the spectator delay, again, that's kind of a team fight composition right there. You can make picks with Lux, you can make picks with Elise, they kind of work in the same kind of respect. But, Malphite into Lux combo, that's a lot of AoE damage you can put down into a specific area. And, they will want to team fight. But we've seen these kind of compositions go head to head throughout this entire weekend. You have a split push composition and a composition with Malphite that wants to hard engage, and they just butt heads over and over again. And it all depends on how you execute it in game. We've seen Malphite win, we've seen Malphite lose, and again, it really depends on what you can make work.
Yeah. One of the big things that I'm going to be looking out for this game is we've got Impaler on Nidalee. Now, last time we saw this yesterday, Impaler was either ganking or he was counter-jungling. There was basically no time where he was in his own jungle.
Exactly, but that's the great way to play Nidalee.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see where he puts his focus here, because he's going to be up against Ray and Mott's Lux, who is a very low mobility champion, fairly easy to gank in theory, but he's running with that cleanse, so it's going to be a little bit harder.
So in that mid lane, when you run an Arya and a Nidalee, you really have to rely on hitting that charm just to be able to apply at least a modicum of CC to allow Nidalee to jump on and get the execute. A very, very smart summoner spell choice from Ray Mort, and we know that Ray Mort loves this kind of mid laner as well. Farm heavy, sit back, you make picks. He is an Anivia main, by all accounts, so he knows exactly how to play this kind of champion, that control mage. We are into game now, ladies and gentlemen, so we will have that loaded up for you on your screens, as we have a fairly standard start coming between the two teams. No threats of lane swap, no deep vision being applied here. Very defensive lines for both.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is kind of what we're used to seeing in the current meta. You don't typically see too much crazy level 1 action. And if you do, you see it mirrored on the other side of the map by the opponents.
Yeah, and we're going to have Gromp and Krugs probably maybe taken respectively. It looks like Yuki and Hiva are gearing up for an invade onto these Krugs here. They're going to get spotted out by a ward.
Yeah. So they are going to be spotted out, and you're well aware of that little bit of an invade. They're just going to get that nice little ward down, so they're going to have vision of the Krugs when that's going down. But I can't imagine they're going to get... Oh, they may be looking to contest this one very late on. This ward might time out. I'm going to check the timing on that.
It's got a little bit of time yet.
Still, I can't actually check the timing apparently, so I don't actually know. It's got like half of its duration, so that's like 30 seconds, but I believe Hiva has been spotted out there. In the meantime, though, while he contests this and denies it, Yuki is going to be able to start off in this bottom lane, starting getting that CS.
Yeah, they won't actually miss anything for it, and they actually got the small Krug as well. So it will be a slight experience advantage for Luke and Outrage here, but it won't be anything too extensive. They are going to be forced a little bit back, though, just because of the lane position that Kalista has already got. You can see she's being aggressive.
Ooh,
Hiva and herself missed the play, though.
Stacking up the Rens, and look at that, half of Lucian's health already taken down. And Hiva, he isn't done just yet, but the concussive blows are stacking on up. Looks like he's going to be able to get away with that one, though.
Yeah, Yuki able to be aggressive. And again, a lot of bot lane is about the mind game, is about the positioning that you have, and potentially just going to have Prince Philip and Alfari. They look like they went toe-to-toe a little bit at level 1.
Level 2 has been hit by Heaver, and he's going to be able to land the death sentence onto Outrage, but they can't really do too much with that one, as they are just about underneath this tower. So not going to be able to go quite for the level 2 all-in that they would have liked to go for. So let's take a look elsewhere on the map. We've got K-Draw versus Railmore up in this mid lane. Very, very even matchup so far. Completely even in CS. Neither jungler has gone for any kind of ganks just yet in the game, despite this being a Nidalee and Elise game.
Yeah, so just switching over screens here, so we'll be having a look as we have
all kinds of fireworks going off in my ear right now. You need to not alt-tab while we're streaming your PC, buddy. But
sorry, we actually switched over PCs very quickly, so I just had to double-check that we hadn't have anything going in the background, because I wasn't aware that was going to happen.
No. Well, okay, so we are going to see K-Drop hitting level 4 in this mid lane, so he's going to try and pressure Rainbow away from these CS. In the meantime, got a little bit of a duel down in that bottom lane. But overall, fairly defensive game from both these teams. Impaler now starting to play that Nidalee that we're used to seeing. He's looking to steal away these Razorbeaks, and he will be able to do so. Jumping onto Larkin, who trades this back very well. Impaler down to half HP is just going to have to back away from this one.
Yeah, and you see he's got the slight level advantage as well, because this is what he does. He likes to farm up heavy and then move into the enemy jungler when he knows he will have a slight level advantage. He can duel quite effectively. But I think Larkin did a good job there. He avoided getting marked by the Nidalee. He did a good job of dodging the spears and got a bit of return damage onto Impaler while landing the cocoon too. Prince Philip, he's a little bit behind in CS now, but it's kind of, you expect that against a Fiora when she's consistently looking to proc the vitals. It's all about your lane position here. You can see there a vital very easily procced by Captain Alfari, because unfortunately RNG is not with Prince Philip right now. They are all appearing on the sides closest to Fiora, so that makes it a lot easier for Fiora to get harassed down.
K-Draw gets locked up though, and Larkin's coming into lane. He's only level 3, so if they can land the cocoon, they could be in with a shot, but K-Draw dodges it, and that's going to be him strolling on out of lane. The red buff just getting those last little auto attacks in. Larkin is going to have to head back into the jungle though and start to farm up a bit.
Looks like there was a gank from Impaler in the bot lane, not resulting in anything. CS advantages starting to rack up a little bit, mainly in the jungle and that top lane. Everywhere else seems to be fairly even. Prince Philip, again, he knows this is a difficult matchup. He's likely not going to be looking to go aggressive during the early levels where Fiora has a distinct advantage. He's just going to be able to farm up under that turret as well. He has got a fairly decent wave coming his way, so he should be able to catch up as it goes along. But Impaler staying a very long time in this bot lane.
Yeah, they're looking for the dive. They do spot out Larkin as he goes through Tribrush, so they decide to back away from this one, not going to there. And here we go. K-Drill as well, very, very low on mana in that middle lane. And Impaler's found out Larkin in this jungle, and he is not looking to end this fight anytime soon. A nice repel, though, onto that Krug. That is going to keep him alive. Impaler isn't finished just yet, though. He's looking for more. He's going in, tries to steal the Krug, not quite going to find that death sentence. Isn't going to land onto Larkin, though, and now Impaler going to take that dark passage straight out to safety and gets himself out of the jungle.
This is kind of the aggression that we've seen from Impaler that is potentially quite questionable. He didn't have any vision over the wall there, or at least he didn't have a clear idea about who was behind the wall. He jumped over and he didn't expect the Braum, got locked up, and he didn't have the position of either Heaver or Yuki to back him up in that sense, so he couldn't go for the kill effectively onto Larkin. Does force the flash, however, so it wasn't completely out for nothing at the end of that. But
no, they nearly managed to coordinate it. Heaver almost landed the death sentence at max range, but he just wasn't quite in that position. It was kind of, they needed to coordinate it a little bit better.
Yeah, now Yuki building up a 10 CS lead. Outrage gets taken pretty low.
It does indeed. The Ren stacking up as well there. Yuki does proc that, but Unbreakable was on, so it's going to reduce that damage. Captain Alfari, though, is slowly but surely pushing this top lane out. We'll see whether Prince Philip is going to be able to start to lower this CS gap that started to be built up by Alfari here.
Yeah, and I think he's picked up that Barmy Cinder now, so it actually makes trades slightly easier for him. You can see they just
100 gold.
Gets a load of CS from a singular ground slam.
There's something incredibly satisfying about it on Spectator when you see the full total totted up.
Yeah, it's incredibly satisfying. But with the Barmy Cinder, he should be able to trade a little bit more effectively, because although Tiamat does provide a little bit of flat damage, it doesn't allow them. Oh my word, what's going on here?
There's a fight going on in the bottom lane. Hiva is going to be looking to try and get more CC out, but the health bars and mana bars of both sides incredibly low there. And this has been a very aggressive bottom lane for the entire game so far. And actually, we're going to see Larkin coming back into this bottom lane. They're going to be looking to try and bait this one out. Ayuki tanking up a spear there, but they've done it for long enough, and Larkin's coming on into the lane. Looks like they've decided to go on Hiva. They can't make up their mind right now. Yuki, though, has found himself caught in a pretty awkward situation. Concussive blows are going to be stacking up as Outrage is so close to going down, but survives. Oh, the cocoon misses, and actually Larkin's in trouble. I don't know what on earth just happened to Outrage. I think he died to minions, but that's 2 kills in a 2 versus 3 in favor of RNG.
And you've got to look at the way that Hiva was positioning that Thresh. He was moving away, he was forcing the jungler to make a decision. You come for me when I'm a little bit out of position but I have more health, or you go and try and execute Yuki on a low HP. The Lantern came out, it was so well timed by Hiva. And then again, Outrage went down to minions, like you said. Took too much damage and the minions managed to finish him off, and then overextension by Larkin meant that you always have to respect the turnaround that can come out from a Kalista with that Ren. She can just execute half of your HP if she gets enough auto attacks on, even in the early stages of the game. So great play by the Renegades bot lane, and they are definitely having a good time here. Impaler looking to head up towards this top lane. Prince Philip by himself, level 7.
Yeah, he's in a bit of trouble. Is just going to flash away. Still has that unstoppable force as well. Surprised he used flash over unstoppable force to get away, to be quite honest.
Yeah, lower cooldown, interesting choice. Maybe he thought he can get back to tower. Unstoppable force does provide that CC if they even try and attempt the tower dive here.
Yeah.
So maybe get a return. He knows he can't walk up to the wave though. Captain Alfari has that ultimate. He will very shortly just be able to burst him down, so has to be careful.
Death Sentence lands onto Ayuki in this bottom lane. Unbreakable will be able to deny a whole lot of damage, though. However, they do get him down to relatively low HP, but Yuki uses that ultimate, going to throw Thresh into this front line, but in fact, it's actually incredibly low. Hiva's in trouble here. If they can land one more auto, they do get the stun onto Yuki, and Ayuki, in fact, is going to look for this one. The Ren finishes him, though, and again, the Renegades bot lane, they win out the fight with 2 kills.
This is just the Renegades bot lane far more in sync than that of the Null. Luke and Outrage both backed off at separate times. They split their damage as Rhea Mort is taking a bit of damage from Kadril, but they split their damage. They didn't commit to a singular target and caught out right at the last moment. It was unfortunate there for the bot lane of Null, but they are just straight out being outplayed here by both the Kalista and Thresh from the side of Renegades.
They are indeed. And oh my goodness, Kadril goes straight for the flash Spirit Rush Raymort with a nice reaction flash, though. Will get away. Prince Philip might not be so lucky. Just narrowly escapes with his life there.
And again, Impaler, aggressive, farming consistently, making sure he's maintaining vision. I mean, you've got to look at the vision that they've managed to get down on the Null side jungle already. You can see deep wards coming into both blue and red side jungles, and this is a mark of a really great team.
Look at the level difference between the supports as well.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, Outrage has just unfortunately been wailed on in this bot lane, does now hit level 5. This bot lane, you know, we talked about the top lane where we thought the real matchup was going to be, but I'll tell you what, this bot lane from Null is having a lesson from Renegades right now.
Yeah, they absolutely are.
And that's without jungle pressure as well. It's straight up 2v2.
In fact, the Null had jungle pressure. That's the concerning thing right now for the Titans. And I mean, next game, they really have to kind of consider what went wrong here and how to change that one up, because so far, Yuki is feeling incredibly powerful. Already about 30 CS up as well on top of
yeah, I mean, they have complete control of the lane now. And you can see here, the bot lane from Null is just forced to roam because they can't 2v2 without the jungle pressure. And that's going to limit where Larkin can apply his own pressure now as well. He'll be stuck really to that bottom side of the map for fear of losing too much control. Leaves Prince Philip up on an island there. Prince Philip's been doing okay, though, despite that dive. He has... Yeah. Definitely 20 CS down, but teleport coming through.
It certainly is. That's going to be Fate's Call used, and actually oh no, Mastery emote comes out. I'm not sure that was the direction he wanted to throw himself in there.
I'm not. Maybe it's the direction he wanted to throw himself in. Certainly wasn't the direction that the lane or the side of Renegades wanted him to go in.
I feel like the teleport might not have been
the
quite
hook.
properly coordinated, but that's going to be Ayuki hooked in. However, Heaver's tanking the tower, and he's going to be the first one to go down. That's going to be finally the tower dropping. Alfari is looking to get the grand challenge off, and he will be able to do so. That's the heal coming out as well, and that is going to be a nice, simple kill as well as a tower. And in the meantime, the mid lane tower went down as well. Cadril now going to roam on down towards this bottom lane. Does have Spirit Rush if Outrage comes to check this one. But they decide to back away.
Yeah, Cadril having that advantage of having the blue buff, able to just push the waves far quicker without any fear of losing the mana pool that the Lux has obviously had to go back for. Rayamort very low on mana after attempting to defend these waves against Cadril. It's just CS differences stacking up across the board here. You saw there was even an advantage still in the top lane after the teleport. Huge advantage in that bot lane, almost 50 CS racked up here in advantage of Yuki. And in that mid lane, Cadril and Rayamort, they are pretty close, but the tower has gone down already.
Yeah.
I think Alfari, I don't think Prince Philip has to be too worried here. Alfari has already used that ultimate.
No, I think just trying to get some harass off here before Philip walks underneath his tower. Obviously, Grand Challenge is on cooldown, as you say, so Prince Philip going to be relatively safe in that one. That's just kind of just Alfari things, just Fiora things, where you want to just punish every little bit of damage that you can
And you
get.
can see Alfari going for the Ravenous Hydra and not the Titanic, giving you a mark of how aggressive he is on this champion.
Yeah.
You know, he... Again, as I kind of agree, against the Sunfire Cape, it's far more useful to have that sustain in terms of the lifesteal.
Oh
Larkin and Rayamort.
Yeah, here we go. Rayamort is going to get caught by the Death Sentence. Good cleanse, but it's nowhere near enough as he goes down, and it's going to be Larkin all on his own. He's repelled, but he's got nowhere to run to. He will be going down. In the meantime, Cadril has found Outrage, but that is going to be finally Larkin falling. Is Cadril going to survive, though? Because actually he's got a few people to contend with. Should be just about okay to escape again on that Ninetail Fox. Didn't even have to use Spirit Rush, in fact. And that is just going to be, again, slowly but surely, RNB picking up these advantages.
And this is just, again, the mark of these individually skilled players outplaying their opponents, and they're even tactically outplaying the Null right now. Huge map rotations coming out from multiple members, exploiting the weaknesses that they managed to gain through lane pressure. You saw Prince Philip was pretty low in that top lane. It allowed Alfari to push him back and then push onto the tower. And as soon as Larkin came to defend it, the rest of Renegades were there. They were there to capitalize and perform that tower dive, and came out with sparkling colors as Mumpela takes the... not just yet, but will eventually take the Lantern to safety. Null very defensive with their ward coverage as well. You know, what little ward coverage they do have is in their own jungle. Past that river, they cannot see a thing.
And take a look at this. The Rift Herald is going to be going down as well. And as well, so it begins. Alfari going to be split pushing down in that bottom lane. So we're going to see, I believe it was... Oh, Yuki got the killing blow. I'm not sure quite who grabbed that Rift Herald. It is going to be Mumpela with that one. Rayamort tanking up that spear. But they're not quite going to be able to go too aggressive on that one. Just trying to get some harass down. And they're going to be heading up to that top lane. In the meantime, Alfari going to be able to pressure on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, Alfari able to split push in that bot lane quite effectively. And again, it's getting to the point where it's going to be difficult for Prince Philip to contend with him, even with that Sunfire Cape. It's just a matchup that is, unfortunately, you will never really win as the Malphite. Even as AP Malphite, you'll never win versus a very skilled Fiora, because she will be able to riposte the majority of your damage. If she's quick, she should be even able to riposte your ultimate, which is a huge damage source for the Malphite as well. So,
Rayamort is not having a good time.
No, he's not.
These spears. Keeps on just getting consistently hit out by Impaler. Cadril could be in trouble, though. Larkin's actually been caught, and there's the final spark to finish him off. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Jungler for mid laner, though, so I'd actually say Null Titans kind of win out that one.
Yeah, definitely. They pick up a kill for... Well, pick up a kill for kill, so it's a 1-for-1, but... I guess that's a win in Null Titan's book at this point in time, just because of how badly it's going. If they lose this turret here, though, they won't be too impressed, as it's very, very low. I don't think they are. They're going to keep going for it.
They are going to go for it indeed, and they are going to be able to pick up that tower. So, nice little play by RNG. And take a look at the gold lead that they've managed to accrue for themselves. 8,000 in the lead right now. And at 16 minutes, that's 500 gold per minute lead that they've managed to accrue for themselves. That's like a kill and a half, basically.
This is looking to be one of the biggest gold leads that we've seen as of yet. Renegades just stepping up their play time and time again. They have managed to reel back some of their aggressive play that we saw when they played versus... I'm trying to think of the team they played yesterday.
They played up against...
Check our notebook here.
Oh my goodness, I can't find the page.
Was
They
it-
definitely played a team yesterday, that's for sure. It's
It was
M&M.
M&M, yeah.
It was
So
M&M that they played
they've
against.
reeled back their aggression that they had versus M&M and have managed to make very not more sensible decisions this game. And have had a steady increase in goal. They haven't given anything away through, I guess, poor map positioning, overextension, that kind of thing. So they've been far more tempered with the way they've been playing today, and it's had a huge effect. They've just, again, been winning out through individual skill. You can't really say it any more than that. Impaler has had very little to do in the early portion of the game, apart from farm. He has really just had to his lanes win for him. That bot lane especially has been having a whale of a time.
Yeah, they absolutely have. And this is going to be a dragon going across here. First dragon of the game finally going to be taken. That's going to go over to the Banditos, and now they're heading down towards this bottom lane. Prince Philip, he's been found all on his own, and in fact, it's going to be Heaver leading the charge, looking to try and find an opportunity here, and it looks like they might just find it. The Flay doesn't actually land. That's going to be unstoppable force right into the minion wave. Prince Philip is going to walk away safely.
But it's just the pressure mounting time and time again. That unstoppable force now won't be used in the next 90 seconds.
Yep.
They won't have that available if they want to defend a turret. Every small advantage that they can garner just leads to more pressure mounting on the Null Titans' inner turrets.
Yep.
And you can see here now the mid lane and the bot lane inner turrets are the targets.
The Rend is stacking up, and look at that damage. A spear narrowly sidestepped as well by Prince Philip, but that is going to be him forced away from this objective. Larkin can't defend this on his own. He needs his team to arrive, but they're starting to chunk out this tower, and just the threat of the tower dive is enough to really zone these players away. Good cocoon onto Yuki, but it's not really going to be enough to keep him alive. They're just stacking the Rend even on the spiders at this point. But in the meantime, Alfari is over in the other side of the map.
Exactly. All the pressure that they put in one lane, they are splitting it over and over again. Rayamut cannot deal with Cadril in this mid lane, and if you leave Alfari too long, he will just take turrets by himself too. This is again that split push pressure that we've seen from the Renegades Banditos, and using that unstoppable force defensively means they can't use it offensively to deal with the split pushes. They managed to get Outrage.
Yeah, Outrage has been caught and the tower has gone down. Look at the Rend damage. One more tick of Ignite. The flash auto is going to be enough after the spear goes in as well. Impale is going to be the final blow. That's going to be Lux trying to land the combo, but just doesn't land anything.
Yeah, this has been a very easy game for the top half of a map of Renegades Banditos. Everything has been won by both Yuki and Heaver here. They've just completely dominated from start to finish.
Yep.
Nothing they can do. Cadril in his own right has dominated, but despite being 0-1-1, he has had all the pressure in the mid lane, taking 2 turrets by himself exclusively.
Yep.
And obviously Alfari has done what Alfari does on that Fiora. He becomes a threat that very little can be done about him, and he just splits in that top lane.
Yeah.
Unable, you need to send more than one person to deal with him, even Prince Philip at this point, who is quite tanky, actually going for an aggressive tanky build with that Sheen going towards the Frozen Gauntlet, which is an interesting choice for me.
I mean, Prince Philip has always been a player that would rather go for those more aggressive builds. He loves that kind of play. Rift Herald has now killed itself. That is going to mean Baron can be available. Impaler has to flash, but look at this from Cadril going for Ayuki, nearly finishes him, but Outrage is on the back line just trying to do what he can, but he's just not got the damage as that support. Prince Philip now, he's got that grand challenge on him, and that is going to heal up the lineup of the Banditos. Another 2 kills over towards our red team, and this is looking to be an inhibitor.
Inhibitor for sure. They may even get 2 out of it if they are lucky. They do only have 30 seconds on Prince Philip, but that is probably the key member of the Null Titans. As long as Renegades can dodge the CC and the pick potential from the guys from Null, they don't have to think about any hard engage.
Alfari by a binding. Alfari is trying to get these kills. He's pretty much fountain diving at this point. Is going to be able to take the dark passage to safety. And look at this. This is the aggressive play that we've been talking about these last 2 days from the Renegades. They love to go so deep, and when it works out fantastically. But other times, a little bit less successful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he'd have made that play if he wasn't super far ahead. He definitely wouldn't have gone that far into the fountain turrets if there was any chance that the Null Titans could come back into this. But unfortunately, you know, it's looking grim for the Null Titans at this point. This could just be a game they have to sacrifice and then move on to the next. It is, you know, if you had to ask any
GG
team,
go next.
yeah, if you were to ask any team in our 8 qualification tournament that who they would not want to play against, probably all of them would say Renegades Banditos, and you can see why. They pick a very risky team composition, but they absolutely stomp with it. I mean, they take every advantage and leave nothing for their opponents. And I mean, what can you do at this point? Renegades Banditos, they just look in a really shaky spot. Sorry, not the Nil Titans just look in a very shaky spot.
Yeah, and it's just the kind of situation where at this point you want to be looking at the game that's happened and sort of saying to yourself, okay, what can we improve? This is a best of 3, let's remember. Nil Titans, they're not out of the running just yet. This is the point where they need to be thinking, what can we improve on for next game? What can we change to make sure that this doesn't happen again, that we don't get caught by the same strategy? Because, I mean, actually, when we've seen Renegades, there's not been that much kind of strategic diversity.
It's been we stomp lanes, we win game.
This is the exact strategy they've used every single game.
It's a bit like the Immortals strategy, to be honest. You know, Immortals from NALCS.
Larkin is in a bit of trouble. We'll talk about Immortals afterwards because actually Alfari has been turned around on Larkin survives, going way too deep, and this is what we were talking about with the over-aggression.
But he buys time for his team to try and take the Baron with that Kalista. And I don't know if it's anything that Null can do. They used a lot of ultimates to defend against that, and they do get that Baron Nashor off the back of Alfari's aggression in the bot lane. It was very worth. And, you know, that's probably what Alfari is built to do. He is there to bring multiple people to him. He's running the very, very classic hotshot GG style of split push, which is, you know...
Except Impaler's on the Nidalee.
Yeah. I am so aggressive and so, I guess, pushed up in that side lane that you are forced to send multiple people to deal with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. With this Baron buff, the 4 remaining members of RNB are going to... I'm not sure whether it's RNB or RNG. I'm just going to keep on mixing up between the two. But Yuki going to get caught out by the Winter's Bite there. Oh, nice cocoon onto Hiva as well. They're trying to land on the combo, but there's just not really any damage coming out from Raymore. Still only got his Athenes and 1 Needless.
Yeah, that's not the kind of... Oh, the flash hook onto Luke.
Hook lands onto Luke, and he might just be going down here. Impaler is going deep for this one. The Ignite is taken away, but Impaler, he might have gone too deep once again. That's going to be the final spark, but he survives. Hiva is going to get called out by his fate's call. I don't even know. I'm just tripping over words right now. Well, that's going to be a dark passage to pull Cadril to safety. And once again, RNG managed to pull out with just barely any HP.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely run this to the bone if they're running it at all. Again, a very aggressive play in that mid lane. They didn't really have anything else left to do because Alfari was still dead at this point and wasn't with the team. They just thought maybe we'll get the best out of this siege that we can. And they didn't manage to pick up anything for it, but they were very close to getting Luke down. It was a fantastic flash hook from Hiva. And now Alfari begins the split push once more as Cadril looks to be very aggressive in that mid lane, almost caught out here. Alfari going to back off, realizing he has very little pressure in the other lanes.
Yeah, it does indeed. So just going to head away for a little bit. That's going to allow Prince Philip to pick up some CS. And actually, Prince Philip has done a very good job to stay even in CS.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's even going to go for that Abyssal Scepter now. So he's saying, I'm not going to win by being defensive.
Oh, Cadril has been caught. And 2 ultimates used to secure that one, but it's an important kill to secure.
Yeah, Cadril actually just... disconnected, as you saw there. I'm not sure Newell totally realised, but they managed to get the kill onto him.
I mean, no pause has come out. Both teams are able to pause, so if it's a major issue, then Renegades can go for the pause on this one.
If it becomes an issue, of course. Hopefully he'll be back ASAP. He does have that death timer running down. Alfari going to continue to split push. Rest of... There we go. Cadril does come back into the game. Yuki tanks that culling right here.
Outrage going to be able to get away with that one with the Unbreakable. Actually, a lot of damage coming out onto Hiva. Fate's Call once again. And this is the disgusting thing against when you're playing against Kalista Thresh. Just such an obnoxious lane because it feels like you can never actually get anything to stick.
You can never really catch the support when you're playing against a Kalista or the person that she has so chosen to bind.
Yeah. Actually, but as well, you can't ever catch anyone else because of the Dark Passage from Thresh.
Yeah, and you can see here, actually, Prince Philip is starting to do some real damage against Alfari, but he will continue to lifesteal that back with the Titanic Hydra. Has got that Black Cleaver now, so the Black Cleaver is up and running, so they're going to start to chunk through the armor that Sunfire Cape and the Frozen Gauntlet provide as Impaler pushes that bot lane in onto that inhibitor that is now respawning.
Yep.
Going to start to apply pressure in all 3 lanes here as Cadril returns to the fray from his slight exile into the realm of real life.
But that must have been terrible for him, having to deal with real life.
I mean, he's talking about the way that Renegades Banditos play reminds me a lot of Immortals.
Yeah.
In the sense that they just win their lanes. You know, they win their lanes, they have pretty good teleports. Things generally tend to be won before objective play and skirmishes and teamfights even come into the fray as Outrage Forced to ultimate.
Yeah, Impaler does get fairly low though, but look at this inhibitor. It is going to end up going down. In the meantime, there's 3 pushing in this mid lane. I really feel like Null Titans just need to group up here. You've got to force the team fight. That is what your composition is designed for. The hook just falls short. The final spot goes out onto Impaler, but can't quite finish off the kill. And once again, the Null just seem to lose out.
Again, you know, they're losing to this split push over and over again. They need to just commit to something and group on it. They look like that's what they want to do now, but they rely on Prince Philip entirely for that engage, as Outrage once again gets locked up.
A little bit questionable positioning coming out from Outrage.
It's been like that this entire game, however, you know.
Yeah, not sure he really needed to go and be checking that one. Kind of just gave him a bit of free damage, but now it looks like RNG, they're going to be starting to pressure on towards this mid lane, and I mean, why not? They can't just go straight for the Nexuses with those supers. Baron isn't available right now, so just continue the siege. They've got no real reason to head back to base and stop. There's no reason to let Null kind of get a grip of this game once more, so they just continue going. Grand Challenge is going to be issued onto Prince Philip. One more proc of the Vitals. That is going to be the heal coming out, and Prince Philip has to just use his ultimate to get away. Larkin has been found as well. Repel comes out. The Ignite is taken away. Rend isn't quite enough to finish it, but Alfari flashes on in. Outrage is going to drop as well. That's one for Impaler, and now the rest of the Null Titans are just fleeing with their tails between their legs. Cadril is onto that middle inhibitor. Top inhibitor's the only one left, but Ayuki goes down as Yuki is just tearing them apart. Rainbow incredibly low, but he is going to end up going for... I say they're going for anyone. They're going for everyone right now. Double kill comes through for Yuki. This is going to be the game as the Nexus towers fall, and that is going to be the Nexus. The Renegades are just looking unstoppable.
Yep, you said it. They look unstoppable at this point in time. They pick lane bullies, they win their lane and snowball that into the win for the game. That's exactly how they play. There's no special tactics how they do, you know, they don't do anything crazy by pushing down 2 turrets at once.